VR is a whole new world for us. We've never experienced anything like it before. Seriously, we never have. I can't stress this enough. So you know what that means, right? We are going to resist and struggle with accepting it. But why? Since the invention of mouse and keyboard and the gamepad, gaming interactions have been pretty much set, bar the occasional divergences such as motion controls. And rightly so, I think. Those two main inputs have served the majority of our gaming needs very well up to now, especially with how standardized game design has become, coupled with the limitation of our 2D screens. But now we've thrown VR into the mix, and there are two main new factors we're dealing with. One, we are actually, properly, in a 3D world now, and have all the inherent degrees of movement available to us as input that we've never had before. Two, the natural, precise, instinctive movements of our entire bodies can now interact with the game near one-to-one, without much need for abstractions anymore, such as predefined animations. It can't be understated how enormous these differences are to the established norms we've been used to for so long. I would compare it to if we one day woke up and had sprouted wings from our back and could suddenly fly. Our perception and interaction with the world would fundamentally and massively change from that moment forth. A whole new dimension of possibilities that changes the landscape of how we live would open up, right? Virtual reality is the gaming equivalent of this change, suddenly sprouting wings and being able to fly where we previously could not. Moving from 2D to 3D was a big step for gaming back in the day, but VR is a far, far greater and much more unknown leap than that ever was. For these reasons, as a user when trying VR, you may find a lot about the experience uncomfortable or disagreeable because it doesn't closely adhere to what you're already used to. So what am I going on about then? Why all this preamble? What I've said about VR sounds fine and potentially exciting and liberating and intriguing to you, right? By now we all recognize to some degree in collective society how our brain doesn't like challenges or change from routines and norms. But what is less brought to obvious attention is how our brain also can't distinguish whatsoever between the physical world and our imagination. This is a very observable behavior of the brain, and it can be proven this very moment. It's true. Okay then, just think about anything that has great emotional charge to you. Observe how your brain quickly begins responding with a reactive emotional charge that also affects your body, as if whatever you were imagining was really occurring. Whatever you conjured in your imagination is not actually happening, of course, but our brains can't tell the difference at all. It will just reply to the signals you send it without any ability to discern fantasy from reality. Still not convinced? Let me give you another obvious example then. Do you have hair? I am happy for you, and I am not jealous at all. Now focus your attention on the idea of having an infestation of head lice. Imagine them crawling and slinking around your scalp, skittering all around through your hairline, their tiny legs tickling and itchy, biting into the scalp to feed whilst laying more eggs. So many of them, so itchy, crawling all around. So many, in fact, that when you sleep and you wake up, you find them crawling all across your pillow. Now, assuming you properly understood my words, what did you feel as I was describing that completely imaginary scenario? Did you feel some itching come from nowhere? Some slight tickling, perhaps? Through my prompting of words, you create the scenario from sheer imagination. The brain, knowing absolutely no difference whatsoever, will respond defensively with signals to itch in order to protect yourself and attack the cause, because this is its job. Even lacking hair, I still felt some tickles as I typed out this very sentence. That's how easily prompted and influenced our minds are. And in regards to not having hair, this is a personal choice, a stylistic one, almost. I can grow hair any time that I wish. There, I just grew some. I'm sure you've heard by now that many of the most famous philosophers and intelligent people in the world which are known to history actually didn't have any hair and they were mostly bald. Another way you can clearly observe this separation between you and your brain is by not eating for a prolonged period. That breaks from routine significantly. Now, you know you will be absolutely fine if you don't eat for just a day. In fact, unless you've a particular health condition sensitive to nutritional intake, you'll intuitively know that fasting will very likely do you good, allowing your body some cleansing time, so to speak. However, once your mind, adhering to its core function of keeping you alive above all else, catches on to the mere idea, imagined or no, of there being a form of deprivation that removes you from comfort that signifies even the slightest hint of possible danger, it will bombard you with emotions and impulses to rectify this immediately. So urgent, as if you would surely die the very next minute if you do not eat. As I said, you know very well that you're fine and will be fine. It is a conscious choice you're making, and you can eat any time if you want to. There is no danger whatsoever. Yet, you will still experience such strong impulses toward having you eat that conflict with your conscious knowledge and will. All of this is courtesy of the mind, because it is incapable of such awareness to acknowledge the present reality of you being fine. And it will try to nudge you towards something as if it were the worst possible case scenario of starvation presently occurring, which it must get you out of immediately. It does not know our present conscious reality. It will only see that which validates its own purpose. Our brain is a tool designed to keep us alive and safe. You are the conscious, self-aware soul listening to me and observing your existence now. You are not your mind. All these examples are to elaborate on this clear separation when you bring your conscious attention to it. The error we make is identifying ourselves with the reactive emotions it produces, causing conflict between your present reality and our mind's need to create stories of threat and danger and discomfort from a hypothetical past and future that do not exist. It goes without saying then, based upon the imperative of our brain, that such a huge change like VR is going to be a very, very uncomfortable and scary prospect for it. So, it will do the only thing it knows how. Resist, 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 by flooding us with feelings of the absolute worst, the utmost fear of unknown, all of that to self-perpetuate its narrative in order to preserve itself, and thus us, in what it knows to be safe and comfortable and non-threatening. No matter how fine we actually are doing the present thing in the present physical reality we are in, it's going to be natural for us to feel hesitation and a desire to keep fighting back against this intruder to our pre-established comfort. We will feel a want to keep repeating what we know to be safe and comfortable and reject or dismiss anything which deviates from that, unless it's already super familiar. Having to learn a whole new way and rethink ways of doing things? Such suffering for our poor brains who anticipate only death around every unturned corner. The same is true of prospective game developers, who may be driven by the need to continue with conventional input and interaction design because the discomfort and fear of breaking from conventions into the unknown is too great for them. For both parties, our brains will conjure up an endless conveyor belt of narratives to keep us somewhere safe. And yet, despite all of this, the conscious you, aware of the present reality, remains interested and wishes to explore these possibilities. Why else are you here after all? You know everything is okay in the here and now. You are fine. You are coping well. You can handle present reality just fine. You always can. You always do. The contradiction and separation between the creative you and the fearful mind is clear. So when feeling your rejection and resistance arise towards something that threatens your uncomfortable conventions, like VR might, bring your conscious attention to all of the non-existent stories and scenarios that your brain will conjure up as if they were true this very moment. Realize that it is not you choosing to feel this, because if it truly were you wouldn't place yourself in such a conflicted, uncomfortable situation to begin with. Why would you do that? It doesn't make any sense. The conflict arises from opposing wills. If we humans were truly just an expression of our mind and nothing more, there would be zero conflict in our behavior, only complete certainty all the time, which we know not to be true from our lived experiences, don't we? You are not the machinations of your mind. So, try new things. Feed your creativity and curiosity. Keep persisting and do your best to get used to and be open to new dimensions of interaction and experience. You know you enjoy this. Don't be fooled by a fearful brain's demand that the world shape itself to suit its familiar comfort and fear. Instead, you reach out and rise to the uncomfortable challenge that you can absolutely always deal with in the present moment, which is where we always and only exist. Remember that you are a creative, highly adaptable, curious, and resilient conscious being, and you are fully capable of rising to the challenge of something new, like VR, to explore the unknown, exciting, wonderful possibilities that can emerge when we realize that we are not our fear. Now go and have some fun and give some new things a try.